On January the 31st, 2019 in Hull, East Yorkshire, 21-year-old Libby Squire was on a night out with fellow students from Hull University. She had planned for an eventful, fun evening out with her friends, but somebody watching from the shadows had a completely different plan for her. Libby Squire disappeared, leaving her family in pain and a city in shock and disbelief. But what actually happened to young Libby, and who was responsible for her disappearance? But before we get into this case, make sure you take great care when smashing the like button, because its bigger sister, the subscribe button, is a real-life psychopath. So hit the subscribe button now for your own safety. And with that being said, this is the grim case of Libby Squire. Libby Ann Squire was born on the 1st of January in the year of 1998, and she grew up in West Wickham in Buckinghamshire. She was the firstborn to parents Lisa and Russell Squire, who doted on and loved their children fiercely. In fact, Lisa and Russell gave life to 4 perfect children, 3 girls and 1 boy. And with Libby being the oldest, both her sisters and younger brother would always have their bigger sister Libby to look up to, and they would do more or less everything together as a family unit. Growing up, Libby was a happy child, and to be fair, given her age, she was quite responsible and loved the bigger sister role. Moving into her teen years at school, Libby, she shined. She enjoyed her schooling life and excelled academically. Like many children at the age of dreams and invincibility, she was popular and had no issue making friends with other pupils within the school. However, within her last year at school, Libby began to struggle with personal mental health issues. She struggled with a severe eating disorder that eventually led her to begin self-harming. And the longer this behaviour continued, it became very clear that Libby was suffering with some sort of self-doubt and depression. And although some of these conditions would affect her learning ability at school, she pushed through, eventually completing school with the grades she wanted, and those grades were pretty good. After leaving school, she found local work and continued to grow, working through her personal problems, becoming a strong and beautiful young woman. And given the fact that Libby was smart, highly intelligent and an articulate person with big dreams, at just 18 years old she made a decision to further her education, purely because Libby wanted to study philosophy. And to be able to get onto a course to study philosophy, you have to be pretty incredible, bright, talented and gifted with high grades. And yeah, she had the potential for this dream of hers to come true. And so after sitting down and speaking to her parents and siblings about her future, Libby had chosen Hull University to study towards her undergraduate's degree. But more specifically, it was for the reputation of its philosophy faculty. And despite the fact that the university was over 200 miles away from the family home, Libby's mum and dad, Lisa and Russell, believed it to be a solid, safe idea. And why not? The year is now 2018, and Libby Squire has made the move from her family home and moved into her own place in Hull. She enrolled in the Hull University, of which looked after around 14,000 students at the time. And yeah, she was loving life, she made new friends, she was popular, and those who knew her said that she was super funny, witty, talented, and kind. She was always eager to explore and discuss different ideologies with her friends. Her outlook on life was fair and understanding, and Libby was loved by all that knew her. And although she missed her mum and dad badly, Libby spoke to her parents on the phone every single day, keeping them up to date with all the dramas happening in and around her life, and vice versa. During specific weekends and holidays, Libby would return back to the family home and spend quality time with her family. So even when Libby was home or 200 miles away, they were still a close-knit unit, a close-knit family. Fast forward just 1 year, and it's now January the 31st in the year of 2019. And Libby was by now 21 years old, and she was full of promise and looking forward to her second year at university. And to kick things off with a bang, her and her university friends decided to arrange a night out. And so on the 31st of January in 2019, Libby's out for a party. She goes out to another student's house and she's clearly having a good time. Now, at around 11 PM that same evening, the group of friends left the house and headed towards a nightclub in Hull called the Welly. It was a freezing night with snow and ice on the ground, though the group of students arrived at the nightclub around 11:20 PM. Unfortunately, Libby had a little bit too much to drink, and so the doorman at the Welly of the nightclub said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you in, you've already drunk way too much alcohol." Now Libby was drunk, but she was also disappointed not to be allowed inside the nightclub. But to make sure she got home safely, her friends put her in a taxi outside the nightclub at 11:30 to take her home. Sadly, little did they all know that that would be the very last time that they would see Libby alive. Now we do know that the taxi did indeed take her all the way home. However, it's believed that Libby lost their front door keys because she didn't go inside her house. Cold, vulnerable, drunk and alone, she's seen wandering the streets upset in a drunk state. Libby's movements were captured on CCTV cameras from 11:40 to 11:49 near the junction of Harworth Street and Beverley Road. Two men were seen trying to help her, as do several other people, but Libby refuses their help and wanders off. Then at 11:55 PM a man is seen picked up on camera in Harworth Street, exiting his car. He appears to have seen Libby Squire and then disappears from view. At midnight he's then seen on foot tracking Libby Squire from the opposite side of the street. Now do bear in mind at this point in time Libby's very tired and she's uncertain and very unsteady on her feet, and that's when she accepted a lift from this man. It's now into the early hours of February the 1st in 2019 at 12:08 AM. The man's silver Vauxhall Astra drives off down the street with Libby in the car. So was this man trying to help Libby, or was he a man taking full advantage of a young woman who was unable to defend herself? Friend or foe, this was the very last time Libby Squire was seen in public, alive. At 12:11 AM, that same car was seen arriving at Oak Road Plainfields, and then just 9 minutes later at 12:20 AM, the car is spotted again. But this time it's seen leaving the area. And then just 2 hours later at 2:25 AM, the same car is seen returning to the playing field. The car was seen again leaving for the second time at around 3 AM in the morning. And yeah, it's a little bit suspicious to say the least. The next day, once friends had learned that Libby had not returned home, and as worry and suspicion grew, Libby was reported as missing, and soon after that a full policing investigation was quickly underway. Officers began local door-to-door inquiries at the university asking obvious questions. Do you know this lady? Have you seen this young woman? When was the last time you saw her? When was the last time you even spoke to her? But nobody could give the police a valid answer. And as for the local people all living within the area of Hull, it was like Libby Squire had just simply completely disappeared into thin air. And as the tensions grew, more and more people joined the search on foot throughout the city, all looking for this young missing woman.
3 days since Libby Squire was last seen, and forensic officers from Humberside Police have spent today at the place where she was last spotted. They collected items of interest as their investigation into the missing 21-year-old student continues. Police say they're extremely concerned for her welfare. Specialist teams aided by Coast Guards are continuing their search efforts along the nearby River Hull. Students have also helped in the ongoing operation.
It doesn't feel real, it still feels like really surreal. We were talking like last night and it feels like something out of a movie, and the second you don't do anything, you just get frustrated. She's a lovely person and it's so out of character for something like this to happen. Please come home, we know, we love you, and all the support, there's over 200 people in there for you, please come home soon.
Libby got into a taxi outside the Welly Club in Beverley Road at 11 PM on Thursday. Police believe she got out near her home in Wellesley Avenue, just a few minutes up the road. But she was then spotted on CCTV 45 minutes later here, at the junction with Hayworth Street. A male driver reportedly saw her sitting on a bench and got out to ask if she was okay. She said she was and he drove away. What happened next remains a mystery. Police said they're following up a number of leads and are keen to hear from anyone who was in the area where Libby was last seen.
If anyone was driving around the area between 11 PM on Thursday evening and 3 AM on Friday morning and has dash cam footage, we would urge them to come forward.
Police efforts supported by the community and students in Hull continue 3 days since Libby Squire was last seen.
And by now, over 150 police officers were now all involved in the missing persons case. Posters and pictures of Libby, including her age, height, and even the clothes she was last seen wearing, were being handed out to members of the general public. The whole Daily Mail newspaper was also covering the case, asking people to come forward with absolutely any kind of helpful information. The students of Hull University were also invested into the search.
Obviously, when people go out and they drink, sometimes you lose your phone or you can't get home quite as easy, but she's always made sure that she's found a phone or anyone she can contact to make sure someone knows she's safe, regardless of what happened. So to not hear anything from her at all is completely not like her.
But after 4 long days of looking for Libby, nothing had come to light, and this left a bitter taste in the hearts and minds of the local community.
Whilst her location is not yet known, this does not mean she has come to harm, but we must carry out a thorough investigation and explore all possibilities. We are continuing to support Libby's parents, who understandably are distressed and anxious as to their daughter's well-being and safety.
It was a crazy and stressful time for all involved, and as the panic grew, no one suffered more so than the Squire family and friends. And this not knowing just what had happened to Libby was a painful burden no parent should ever have to carry, which was more than evident to see in this TV public appeal made on February the 4th in 2019 for their daughter's safe return.
Libby is our kind, thoughtful, beautiful girl who is loved by so many people. As you can appreciate, this is a very difficult time for us both.
The whole family is missing you, especially me and your dad, your sisters and your brother. I miss you so much. It's breaking my heart not knowing where you are. I love you more.
It really was a heartbreaking and emotional task that really took its toll on parents Lisa and Russell Squire. However, almost immediately after the public appeal, a potential witness came forward with some vital information. A man who was living at the back of Oak Road Plainfields. He told the police he had heard a woman's desperate screams coming from the direction of the river on Oak Road, and that he knew exactly what time it was when he heard those screams because he had checked his phone, and the time he gave the police was exactly 12:15 AM, of which corresponded exactly with the CCTV footage of the car arriving at Oak Road Fields the same night Libby went missing. And so now, and finally, the police have a strong lead, and that's when police soon noticed the CCTV cameras in that particular area. Investigators wasted no time, and on the 6th of February in 2019, after a meticulous analysis of CCTV footage within the area and beyond, the police finally identified the car as a Vauxhall Astra and the male driver.
Libby Squire has been missing for 8 days. In woodland near to her home, the search goes on, as it has done every day. But still, there's no sign of the missing 21-year-old. A 24-year-old man was arrested on Wednesday night. It's now more than a week since Libby went missing after a night out with friends. This is the road where she was last seen very late last Thursday. But footage obtained by ITV News appears to show suspicious activity on this connecting side street. The CCTV shows the date, the 1st of February, and the time just seconds after midnight, although the clock is in fact a minute slow. Even though a cobweb partially covers the camera, the yard's gates and cars parked in the street outside are clearly visible. 2 bright flashes of light are seen, indicating a car being unlocked, followed 3 seconds later by 4 more. 2 seconds after that, a man is seen for the first time as he walks into view. He opens a door and sits in the driver's seat facing out, but his face is not easily seen. His hands are close together, appearing to be rolling a cigarette. As he does, a cyclist who could be a vital witness goes past. And as the man appears to smoke, another car drives by. After sitting for exactly 2 minutes 52 seconds, he stands up, walks away, and the car's lights flash again as it's locked. 1 minute and 42 seconds later, after more flashes, a person is seen on the opposite side of the car and opens the front passenger door. It's difficult to see what happens, but it appears someone or something is put inside. Seconds later, the man reappears on this side of the car, gets into the driver's seat, puts the headlights on and reverses before driving off at around 8 minutes after midnight. The car was parked down this quiet, secluded side street, which is actually a dead end. There are terraced houses either side. Libby was last seen on the main road there, about 20 paces from where I am now. The car was here for approximately 20 minutes before it drove off down this road at exactly the same time that it's believed Libby disappeared. Police are continuing to examine a car that was recovered on Wednesday night as the investigation into Libby's disappearance enters a second week.
The driver, the suspect, was a foreign national known as Pawel Relowicz. He was immediately arrested and brought in for questioning by Humberside police. Police made Pawel Relowicz aware of his movements on the evening of January the 31st into the early mornings of February the 1st had all been captured on CCTV. But Pawel Relowicz, he wasn't having any of it. He starts coming up with all sorts of different stories about what actually happened that night. Now, at first he tells the police that he wasn't even there, and that he didn't do anything wrong, and that he knows nothing about nothing. But then he starts slowly amending his version of events to fit in with CCTV footage, saying, "Oh yes, I did offer her a lift, but I was just being a good Samaritan." And then he changes his story once again, telling police that she took her knickers off and then threw them at him. They then had consensual sex on the playing field, and after she got up and walked away he drove home.
Why didn't you tell us that you'd had sex with Libby? Was it because she her?
But, the police, they knew he was full of
corn casserole.
Like, why on earth would you drive back to the playing field 2 hours later? It just didn't make any sense, and doesn't make any sense now, unless he's hiding or concealing the truth, which police knew he was. Now, the police knew Libby had been in his car from CCTV evidence they'd gathered, and so the police took full opportunity to search his home and his car. And guys, what they found in the boot of his Vauxhall Astra was truly, truly disturbing. In the boot of his car, the police found a large pink bag. Inside the pink bag, they found many pairs of dirty old knickers belonging to many different women, and a collection of dirty, crusty vibrators, along with multiple packs of condoms. It's so gross. Like, straight away, this must be giving the police Predator vibes. And of course, this led the police down many different lines of new inquiries, ultimately leading the police down the path of discovery that Relowicz was responsible for a series of sexual motivated offences within the area, including indecent exposure and burglary.
In 2017, Relowicz broke into this student's bedroom and stole sex toys. A brief police investigation got nowhere. Victims' words in this report are spoken by actors.
I just got a call to say that there'd been no fingerprint match, there'd been no other leads or evidence, so it was kind of closed because they didn't know who'd done it.
And so with that, Pawel Relowicz was charged with a series of sexual motivated offences. But despite detectives' factual evidence and intuition, Pawel Relowicz still denied any involvement with the disappearance of Libby Squire. He still claimed that on the night of January the 31st he was simply out looking for easy sex, and so the ongoing search for Libby Squire continued. Now, the press and the mainstream media, they continued to push photographs of Libby, all in the hopes that somebody somewhere might come forward with information of her whereabouts. On the 15th of February, Detective Superintendent Martin from the Humberside Police issued a public statement.
While we continue to be hopeful and keep an open mind, Libby's now been missing for 14 days, and I sadly have to consider that she may have come into some harm.
However, the police continued to build a case against Pawel Relowicz through painstaking police work and looking through thousands of hours of CCTV, identifying his movements on the night when Libby went missing, piecing together a picture of his behaviour and movements that night. The jigsaw pieces clearly demonstrated that he was not as he claimed in his interview, that he was a good Samaritan who had given Libby a lift home. He was a serial SA offender who had taken her in his car to offend against her sexually, and so now proving it in court it wouldn't be so difficult. On the 20th of March, almost 7 weeks after Libby had gone missing, her body was found in the mouth of the estuary of the River Humber, near the Grimsby docks at a place called Stern Point. And it truly was the most harmful information Libby's family feared the most, that her body had been found. However, if her body was never found, they would spend the rest of their lives never knowing what happened to her. So even though it brings absolutely no closure to their pain, at least it brings some kind of closure to them knowing what happened. Which brings me on to the question, what actually happened to Libby on that freezing cold evening on January the 31st in 2019? Well, we know that she was stalked and then picked up by Pawel Relowicz from CCTV. He then drove her to the playing fields where he raped her. It's then believed he strangled her to death during or after penetration. He then leaves her body in the field and then returns home for a shower. He's then seen returning back to the scene of the crime 2 hours later at 2:25 AM, where he essays her lifeless body before dumping her in the river. And because Libby's body had been in the water for almost 7 weeks, she was identified by her teeth and fingerprints. During a post-mortem, semen belonging to Pawel Relowicz was found inside Libby's body. Also found on her neck and arms were the marks of a struggle, indicating some sort of attack. And so on the 9th of August in 2019 at Sheffield Crown Court, Pawel Relowicz pleaded guilty to 4 counts of voyeurism, 2 counts of public indecency, and 3 counts of burglary, but completely denied killing Libby Squire. He was then given just 5 years to serve behind bars. However, during the time in prison on the 11th of February in 2021, Pawel Relowicz was finally charged with the murder of Libby Squire. He was then sentenced to serve an extra 25 years minimum to serve in prison. Good. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you real soon next time when evil follows. Until then, take care.